in Canada, but I guess it's nice to be in Canada now, so I'll be in Canada. I've been involved with the IAFF since 2009. So all the research that I do is essentially with firefighters, trying to help you guys do what you do every single day. And so my background is largely injury prevention, exercise, really trying to use exercise to change habits, change behavior, prevent injuries, improve performance. Strong history working with athletics before I got into fire service. And decided to switch gears and work pretty much exclusively with you guys. So I can give back to you as a bit of a thanks to say, thank you for doing what you guys do every day. So like I said, since 2009, I've been involved with the IAFF, with their peer fitness training program and the Wellness and Fitness Initiative. And so what I would like to do today is give you guys a bit of a glimpse into some of the principles that are being used to guide the peer fitness training program, but also a glimpse into some of the things that we're working on right now. Speaking to a lot of groups across the States and across Canada, implementation is one of those big things that I think that, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but where a lot of programs fall apart. And so we get people excited, we go through various courses and take these certifications, but when it goes back to the department, we actually try and put a plan into action. It tends to chug along and then maybe fizzle out a little bit. And so we're working on ways that we can actually make the implementation sustainable in the long term, which involves changing culture, getting buy-in from the entire membership, not just the individuals that like exercise right now. And so that's some of the stuff that we're working on with the IAFF. And so I'll give you guys a couple previews into some of the things that we are working on to address those issues. All right. So when I got first got involved with the fire service, coming from the athletic world, I thought, you know what, I'm just going to tell everybody that I can make them a really good firefighter. I can improve your performance on the job, I can prevent injuries on the job, and that's how I'm going to help you out. And I was expecting everybody to get super excited about that. You wanted to be a better firefighter. And I got a lot of blank stares. And I wasn't getting a whole lot of buy-in. I was like, holy crap, like what's going on? Like I'm telling you guys everything I know, all the latest research on how to make you a better firefighter. We're using the same principles that are being used with athletes at the professional level, the Olympic level. Nothing. What is going on? And so slowly started to understand a little bit more about what makes firefighters tick. And realized that a lot of it is life outside the job. And so really, if I want to get buy-in from all the members of the department, we can't just emphasize being a better firefighter. It's what are those things outside the job that you guys love to do when you go home? What makes you excited to get up in the morning? And a lot of this stuff, oops, I skipped through that very quick. A lot of what gets you guys excited from my experience is the stuff that doesn't happen while you're working. And so whether it's the recreational stuff, the stuff more related to family and life and looking forward to retirement, playing with your kids and your grandkids. When we started to emphasize these things, that's when we started to see some light bulbs go off. And people started to ask a few more questions, saying, tell me a little bit more about this whole peer fitness thing and this wellness fitness initiative. Because it didn't seem so scary, and we were actually addressing the wants and the needs of the members. And so both for you guys and when you go back to your department, this is going to be a big question. Maybe you've got it already, but I often get asked, what's in it for me? And I think that everybody here, if we're champions, ambassadors for fitness and wellness within your department, this is what you have to realize that the members are thinking. When you're going back and trying to sell wellness for them, they're going to be thinking, what is in this for me? How are you going to help me? And so when we're messaging the program, when we're creating and designing the structure and putting together the infrastructure for the program, we have to make sure that we're addressing the needs and the wants of everybody that we want involved. Realizing that might be diverse in your department, so we might need to use some different messaging to hit different people, but the messaging that we use is going to be critical for the success that you guys have. So we can put together, you guys can go through the PFT course, take all the certifications you want, learn fancy new exercises, and buy all this new equipment. If the members don't see why this is relevant to them, they're not going to participate. And so I can't emphasize enough the importance of thinking about what's in it for me or what's in it for them. And so when you guys are selling this, please take this to heart. So we did some work. with a department up in Canada. And so I wanted to know what is important to firefighters. And so we asked a few questions related to wellness and fitness and trying to get a sense of what do they feel would add the most value. And so one of the first questions we asked was, is it preventing disease? Is it preventing injuries? Is it improving your performance on the job? The majority, so this is about 450 firefighters that we surveyed here, 53% said preventing injuries is the most important thing. So if we're putting together an initiative and we're emphasizing it's all about performance, we're losing half the people right away. So we have to listen to what the membership is saying. And preventing injuries is going to be one of those big things. Second half of this was, where do you want to see the impact? What's most important to you? Do you want to see the impact on the job, in life, or some of the recreational stuff you're doing? Life was the most important thing. But that's another thing we have to realize. A lot of times, and this isn't just specific to the fire service, when we're putting together wellness and fitness initiatives, oftentimes it's workplace initiatives. And so we're so focused on making things better at work that we forget about the buy-in piece. So we can still make you better on the job, but the messaging that we use has to cater to what is going to be interesting and valuable, or at least perceived value, to the members. And so we have to impact quality of life. Yes, we can make you better on the job, but at the same time, we have to make you better off the job. And so this was very important for me, because as we're starting to message and structure the program, we have to listen to what people are saying. We have to be catering to preventing injuries. We have to be emphasizing quality of life. But there's a third piece here. We also have to realize that not everybody said injury, and not everybody said life. Okay, so that messaging is important, but there's still another 50% in both of these that didn't say that. So we have to cater to them as well. Okay, so this highlights the fact that when we're putting together an initiative, we might emphasize these two things, but we also have to address the needs of everybody in the department, if that's who we're trying to get involved in the program. So again, the specifics of the program don't have to change, but how we sell it to various groups, how we sell it to management, how we sell it to maybe some of the older guys versus the younger guys, that's going to change. And that's how we can really get everybody on board. Just understanding what is the need and the needs and the wants of everybody that we're trying to impact. So this was incredibly valuable for me to really appreciate what's going on in the mindset of firefighters. Okay, so we're going to try and tackle this whole injury thing and really try and minimize injuries. We have to understand how injuries actually happen. And so a lot of the work that I've done over the past 10 years is really looking at how injuries happen. So it's not just what body part did you injure, what job task were you doing, but specifically, how do injuries happen? If we're going to prevent some of this stuff, we have to be a little bit more specific in our understanding of how the injuries actually happen. So getting at the mechanism. And so I don't want to go into this in too much detail, but just to give you guys a little bit of insight into how this works. So, very simple. We got two lines here. Blue line at the top. This is the strength of your tissues. And by tissues, I mean your muscles, your bones, your ligaments, your discs, all that stuff in your body. Okay? Everything kind of works the same way. This black line at the bottom is a load being applied to that tissue. When those two lines meet, so when the load applied to a tissue exceeds the strength of the tissue breaks. So if I jump up on the chair and I fall off, hit my arm on the ground, and the ground applies a load on my arm that exceeds the strength of the bone in my arm, the bone's going to break. It's that simple. So I have to think about, how can I either increase the strength of this tissue or decrease this load? That's it. That's how we prevent injuries. And that's important because the prevention strategies that we're using have to address that stuff. And just to give you guys an example, this is probably something you guys do all the time, lifting heavy things. This can actually cause an injury. Okay? So we're lifting a heavy load, the load is being applied to our muscles and our ligaments, and if the load exceeds the strength that we have, those things are going to break. But the reality, and looking across the injuries that are sustained by firefighters, they often don't happen from a one-time event. It isn't necessarily falling off a ladder or falling through a roof. A lot of the injuries you guys sustain happen over time. So it's the accumulated damage of doing something day in, day out And the good thing about that is those are the injuries we can prevent. So looking at all the injuries you guys sustain, this is by far the majority, the cumulative stuff. But it really highlights the fact that we can make a massive difference in our departments in terms of quality of life, saving dollars, by really understanding the mechanisms here. And so, same thing here. This blue line, this is the strength of those tissues. You guys can think about getting on and off the rig. Like first time we do it, the load wasn't high enough to actually cause that tissue to fail. You can think about a knee injury. But over time, we keep doing something, that tissue strength degrades. I don't know if anybody was in the Wellness and Fitness Initiative talk yesterday. Jim Brinkley talking about a wire coat hanger. Okay, the wire coat hanger, you bend it once, it doesn't break. Over time, we start to weaken it. The only thing that's different with our tissues can recover. Okay, we can actually intervene. So this doesn't have to keep going down. So we have to be thinking about, well, what actually causes this to go down? And one of the big things is how we move. Right? How we move really matters. And being aware of how we move and how the way we move influences this stuff is going to be critical if we're going to prevent some of this stuff from happening. And that's a huge component of the peer fitness training program as we move forward. And I'll give you guys a couple little things related to that as we move forward. But good news, we can prevent a lot of this stuff from happening. All right. All right, like I said, you guys do this day in, day out, every single day. This is one of those tasks that is associated with a lot of firefighter injuries. All right. Sorry, just one tip. I don't know if anybody does. Get out backwards. Anybody get out backwards?
I have to teach a class on it.
Perfect. Perfect. If you're not, start tomorrow. Okay? Getting out backwards is one of the best things, pieces of advice I can give you guys to prevent knee injuries getting out of the ring. Okay? Not just the 3 points of contact, but sparing your knees. All right? So that's going to reduce that black line, change that load on the knees. Okay, so that's all you guys need to know about how injuries happen. Now we need to think about how big is this injury problem? You hear about it all the time. So, what's going on? Sorry, my clicker here is not really working. So this is Dr. Keel. Anybody in that talk yesterday afternoon when he presented cost justification? So he presented some data looking at where firefighters are getting hurt. And was talking about physical training, exercise at the station. We've done some work, parallels it's the same thing. Firefighters they are getting hurt at the fire ground. That's not the majority of injuries. So we did some work with the Calgary Fire Department, and it was at the station and training and exercise. Those were the big two culprits. And a lot of departments, there are a lot of research coming out since about 2012, 2013, everybody's saying the same thing. Hey, this is important. We need to know where firefighters are getting hurt. We need to understand how injuries are happening, how they're getting hurt, and then how can we prevent it knowing some of this information. The other thing with this, we wanted to go one step farther when we did this work with Calgary and say just knowing where firefighters are getting hurt is not enough. So what body parts are getting hurt? And as you guys can probably attest, knees, back, shoulders. Just give me a nod if that's kind of what you guys see too. Perfect. So knees, back, shoulders. Still not enough information. I want to know how people are hurting their knees, backs, and shoulders. So we went one step farther. We looked at the movement patterns that were associated with the low back injuries that were being sustained. We looked at what type of movement patterns were being used by the firefighters when they were hurting their knees and when they hurt their shoulders. And what we found is that when guys and girls were hurting their low back, 70% were related to lifting and squatting. When we looked at knees, 81% were related to lunging and stepping. Shoulders, 99% of all shoulder injuries that were sustained, and this is over a 5-year span, 99% of all shoulder injuries were pushing and pulling. Why is this important? Because what it tells me, job duty doesn't matter. Whether you're on the job or off the job, it doesn't matter. If we can teach people how to lift, if we can teach people how to squat, if we can teach people how to push and pull, if we change those habits, maybe we impact this everywhere. It's not specific to the job. It's not specific to the job task. The injuries are being sustained largely because of how the firefighters are moving. And so if we can change the way firefighters are moving, we might be able to tackle this injury problem. So firefighters, like everybody, we establish these habits over time, perhaps unknowingly. And so that could be largely what's going on here. Everybody cross your arms for me for a sec. Cross them the other way. Anybody struggle with that? Okay, so unknowingly, we've established a habit over time. We cross our arms the same way. We get on, we put our pants on the same way every day. Next, tomorrow, try to put your opposite leg in first. It's going to feel really, really weird. But my point is, we establish these habits or these patterns over time when we lift, when we squat, when we lunge, when we push. We use those habits everywhere. And so eventually, the accumulation of some of this damage, if we're not aware of how we're moving, and we're actually moving a little poorly, that's going to manifest itself into this injury down the road. But the good news, we can change habits. If I make you guys aware that crossing your arms the other way feels kind of weird, and I challenge you every single day, just try and go the other way, eventually, it's not going to feel so weird. Same thing with this. So if we make you aware of how you should lunge and how you should lift, eventually we're going to change those habits. If we can change these habits, we can start addressing some of the injuries that are being sustained in every single department, irrespective of job duty. So I don't necessarily have to teach you how to perform this job task and this exercise. I can teach you how to lift, and that's going to transfer everyone. And we've got some data now to support the fact that this actually works. All right. Going one step farther, just to give you guys a glimpse into the costs. So what I'm showing you here up top is just the number of injuries again, kind of same kind of slide. The colored ones are the knee, backs, and shoulders. The white part of the bar here is lost time. And you're just showing of all the injuries that were being sustained, how much actually resulted in lost time. The bottom graph is looking at the cost. And so this parallels what Dr. Keel was saying yesterday as well. Knees, back, shoulders, that's the biggest cost. And this is, again, is irrespective of job. So, moral of the story, and I can share all this with you guys, so you don't have to take pictures. Anything that's here is for you guys as well. Okay, so knees, back, shoulders, lots of costs as well. So from a management standpoint, from a city standpoint, we're trying to justify why we need to tackle this problem. This is one of those reasons why. Okay, so that's all good. We have a bit of a background. So firefighters want to minimize injuries, they want to maximize life. Injuries are a problem. Knees, back, shoulders are big ones. Okay, both in terms of number and in terms of cost. So now the question becomes, what can we do about it? So what can we, or as PFTs or wellness ambassadors, what can we do in our departments to actually make a difference? What steps need to take? So, often get asked, what should I do in my department? So before we go down the road of looking at what every single department can do, got a number of things here that will influence what type of intervention or what type of strategy would be most appropriate in your department. And so if you guys take a couple minutes here, I'm just reflecting on the needs in your department, the infrastructure that's currently in place in your department. So, management support, labor support, member interest, these are all going to influence what your first step might be. Do you have a wellness team, PFTs, do you have physical therapists? Do you have money for this? If you don't have money, that doesn't mean you can't do anything. It just means your first step might not be the same as somebody else that has lots of money. Okay? Just like if you have management support, that's great. If you don't, that's also okay. It just means you have to start with something different. So these are some basic things that every single person here should be considering when you're thinking about what my first step should be in terms of either developing or continuing to grow this wellness initiative in my department. Okay, some simple stuff. And again, like I said, none of this precludes you from actually starting or continuing. It just says, I might have a different strategy. Every single department can start with something. We don't need money to do it. Okay? There's a lot of things that we can do with no money at all just to cultivate a little bit of buy-in from the membership. And then maybe that's what it takes to get management on board, to invest a little bit of money. Throw some gasoline on the fire. So if we can get the members engaged, and then they start saying, I'm getting interested in this. That might be what we need to push it a little further forward. Okay, so I know a lot of people get discouraged because they're getting resistance from various places, but it just means that we need a different strategy to start with. Okay, so giving you guys just some steps. So we've got 4 steps here that we think are very important in terms of growing a sustainable wellness and fitness initiative. And to me, like I said at the very, very beginning, the first one is we have to inspire change. We can't force change on our membership. Some of you guys, you may have tried to force initiatives, whether it be wellness and fitness or something else, and you can probably attest to the fact that it doesn't really work. Maybe initially, but if you have resistance, it's not going to be sustainable in the long term. So we have to get people to buy into what we're doing. Okay? We have to get them engaged in the process. We have to change their attitude towards wellness and fitness. A lot of firefighters, from my experience, get a little intimidated by it. It's like, I don't want to be sore, I don't want to be sweaty, I don't want to be doing this, it hurts, and I don't see value in it. We have to change that attitude. Okay? So that's a lot of what we're doing. So we have to go back to why it matters. The work-life play idea. Catering to their needs, their perceived wants. We have to emphasize life at home. We have to emphasize family and friends and the impact that what you do here on the job, what the impact is off the job. That's part of how we can get buy-in. And so some of the things that we're doing with the Pure Fitness training curriculum is highlighting small steps that can be taken today. It doesn't have to have anything to do with exercise. Because, again, exercise, if I said we're all going to do yoga, versus we're all going to do CrossFit, versus we're all going to go out and stretch, every single one of those words probably, you guys perceive that a little differently. Would that be fair to say? If I said everybody's going to do yoga, maybe some decided other people don't. That's how people view exercise. Okay, so we have to make sure that we understand how our membership is perceiving the words that we're using when we're selling them. So what we highlight is these small steps. So from a movement standpoint, going back to the injuries, quality of life, we emphasize 7 key features. And if anybody wants this, I can share it at the end and you can do a little demo. But we emphasize 7 things that are not specific to exercise. They can absolutely make a difference in every single firefighter's life today, just by becoming aware of these 7 things. And so some of you guys have seen me speak before. I tell the story. I'm sorry to steal your thunder here, Luke. But I was working with the department up in Canada doing a workshop. And all the workshop was about small steps that could be taken to make big change today. And we were trying to make them aware of some of these movement patterns that actually matter in life, on the job, in the gym. And so we were teaching them how to get up and down stairs. And so my only tip when we were showing them how to get up and down stairs was keep your knee, your foot, and your hip in a straight line when you're walking up and down stairs. That was it. Nothing fancier than that, no crazy exercises. And I said, all right, now go and practice climbing up and down the stairs. That's the only thing I want you guys focusing on. Captain, 20 years in the department, came up to me afterwards and said, I got to say thank you. I've had pain in my right knee for 20 years every single time I walk upstairs. Today was the first time I didn't have pain. All I said was keep your knee, your foot, and your hip in line. That was it. Had nothing to do with exercise. 2 months later, guy came up again and said, changed my life. I haven't had pain since that day. Like, there are so many small things that we can do that are really, they're not intimidating at all. Has never than just making a firefighter aware. Small steps can equate to big change, and this might be something that we can use, every single person in here can use, to actually get some buy-in. Because if you have somebody who's got some nagging back pain, nagging knee pain, shoulder pain, for an extended period of time, maybe they're just not aware of where that pain's coming from. And we have some simple things. Like I said, there's 7 things that we emphasize in the Pure Fitness training program that can absolutely change things today. Just by becoming aware of how you're moving, how the way you move actually matters. Okay, so again, small steps can be taken. No money whatsoever. It's just every single person in here going and sharing these things with 5 other people. Those 5 other people can share with 5 other people. I often say we need to make sure that every single firefighter across Canada, the US, anywhere you are in the world, knows these 7 things, because they can make a big difference. They are based on evidence. Okay? And we have tons of testimonials of people actually changing their quality of life because of becoming aware of these things. All right. Second thing, and as you guys can probably attest as well, like I said, the messaging that we use is going to have to be different for various groups of the department. So we have to look at all the stakeholders here. So some of the things that the IAFF is working on is not just having a peer fitness training program, but we can actually leverage the expertise of the instructors that we have to come and help you in your department to share that message. And so this is just an example of a 2-day kind of education piece that we can help you guys deliver, so help a PFT deliver, where the first part of the first day is giving a couple hour workshop type thing, so hands-on workshop to the general membership, highlighting these small steps, nothing to do with exercise. So we can talk about these 7 things, or we can boil it down to 3 things. Highlighting for the general membership how you can change your life today just by becoming aware. Little tips they can use and take home to their family and their friends. So we can come into your department and share with the general membership. We can also share some ideas, so if you have a health and wellness committee, we can talk about program implementation. The message to that group is going to be very different than the general membership. But it's important to engage that group so they understand what the general membership is seeing, what we're sharing with the general membership. We also need to be talking to the executives, so whether it be management, whether it be labor, they're thinking cost. What's the cost justification for all this? So the IAFF has resources that we can use to help you guys engage those groups. Because again, the messaging for that group is going to be different than the general membership. And then we can also host something for the PFTs and the ambassadors of this whole program. So we can come in for 2 days. When we leave, we've touched every single group in the department. Kind of help to launch this initiative. So we've got the general membership on board thinking, okay, this is less intimidating than I can get involved in this. They're a little inspired. We've got the buy-in. We've helped the health and wellness team actually establish a game plan. We've highlighted the justification for the leadership. And we've given some tools to PFTs that they can actually run with the second that we leave. Okay, so these are some things that the IAFF is doing to really help with the implementation piece. All this gets at the buy-in. This is before we get into any type of information and resources and so on. But this is an incredibly important first step. Okay, got a video here. So you guys can watch this video for a sec. Just a little 5-minute kind of little exercise, physical activity session. You're on a dock in front of the water, kind of engaging. Yeah, that's pretty fun. Now just imagine that this was posted department-wide by the chief. Okay? What would that do to the kind of the attitude, the perception of the membership? If the chief is showing his or her commitment by getting involved. It's no longer just words or money being thrown into the program. If they're posting something like this to highlight how they're involved and invested in the program, that could go a really long way. And this could be even a captain. Okay, it doesn't matter who it is. The point is that we can do some really simple things to highlight how everybody can get involved. And there's a lot that we can do as leaders in our department to get some buy-in from the ground up. Okay, so again, just imagine that this is somebody in the, whether it be on the labor side or the management side, posting something like this to get some engagement from the membership. All right. Now, this is something just from the other day, so some of you guys might actually be in this video. So the point of this is to highlight that exercise doesn't have to look like exercise. So this was all about, we have to make exercise fun again. We have to make this whole initiative actually enjoyable. And so part of what we were doing, this is Tuesday morning, so we started, our warm-up was just a little game to get people not only kind of working together, but having fun. Okay, oftentimes exercise becomes very sterile. It has to be done in a gym environment. We need all this fancy equipment to use. We don't. There are a lot of things that we can do that require none of that to get engagement. Okay, so this is just one of those little things that we did. So a few years ago, this is from some work that I did with the Toronto Fire Department. So I wanted to know, can we go in and actually change the perceptions, change the attitudes of a group of firefighters and 2-hour time frame. So I went into Toronto, and we set up a thing. So every single Saturday for about 3 months, I was going to show up at the training academy. And the department was going to pull 10 to 11 trucks offline and send them down to the training academy, not telling them really what they were doing. So these 40 or so people would show up, 500 would show up. You can imagine Saturday, coming down, not knowing what they're doing. They show up and it's me. And I'm saying, hey, we're going to do a health and wellness workshop. And you can just imagine that they were probably not so pleased with that. But that's what I wanted. So I wanted to get a sense, what is the attitude towards health and wellness, or fitness and wellness, amongst a group of firefighters completely wrong? So they came in, and before I introduced myself and really told them any details of what we're doing, I said, I want you guys just to be completely open and tell me what you think about health and wellness. And some of them were super pissed off and swearing at me and asking, does my union president know about this? It was pretty intimidating, because most of the time when I'm giving some type of presentation, people actually come because they want to be there. This was not the case. Okay, so for 3 months, every single Saturday, I was subjecting myself to these firefighters who were not very pleasant. But my thought was, if I'm actually going to go in and try and make a difference in your department, I need to know what I'm dealing with. I can't sugarcoat this. I can't have you guys sugarcoat this to me. I need to know if you're pissed off, if you think this is stupid, you need to tell me. Okay, so in this department, half the guys, half the girls were not super impressed with health and fitness. They've done it before, lifting their legs, yeah, I know all this crap. It's a complete waste of my time. But my thought is, can I change their attitudes in 2 hours? Can I get them all on board? Okay, can I get them excited, inspire them a little bit to actually take that next step? So that was my goal. Okay, so after they swore at me and told me they didn't want to be there, and shared all their opinions, I said I'd let them know who I was and what I was doing. And we went through a bit of a hands-on workshop. And my whole thing was, we're trying to emphasize impact with your life. And so it was this small step I did. Little things that they can do today, whether the goal is performance, whether it's preventing injuries, whether it's improving quality of life, playing with the kids. Emphasize all that stuff. But I wanted to see if I could make a connection within 2 hours and change their attitude. This is what we found after the workshop. So, at the end, so half the people are pissed off, not wanting to be there Saturday morning, swearing at me. At the end of this, 94%, 450 people said they agreed that they were more motivated to be healthier and safer at work. 91% said I'm more motivated to be healthier and safer at home. And I think the big one for me was 88% of these 450 people, half who were pissed off and didn't want to be there, said I'm now more motivated to help my brothers and sisters. So my point with all of this is sometimes it doesn't take a big, crazy intervention. It's all about messaging. I think, in my experience, a lot of firefighters, they want to get invested in something, but we have to make it matter. And so the big thing here was trying to connect with what matters to them. And I think that there are things that every single one of us can do today to start down this path. And I'm happy to share what we did with you guys. I'm happy to give you the resources, details for the workshop, so you can do something like this in your own department. But the point is, again, we can make a big change right away. And so before we go in with some crazy investment, let's see if we can change the attitude, change the perception around health and wellness. Getting them to think that this can impact my life today. And yeah, I do want to know more. And then that's going to be what you need to actually push everything forward. Okay. After we've got buy-in, after we've inspired them a little bit, now we can share some of that information that we know as PFTs, as ambassadors, is very important. So, just show of hands. Anybody ever heard somebody say, maybe you said it, I've been doing this for years, can't be the problem? Nobody? Liars. Hey, I hear this all the time. Or, my knees hurt. Must be because I'm getting older. Heard that one? Yeah. Okay. These are things that we hear all the time. But the reality is, this may not actually be the case. So this is that captain I was telling you about. 20 years, you're like, yeah, I'm just getting older, part of the job, have to deal with it for the rest of my life. Maybe you don't. Maybe it's just because you don't know what is actually causing the pain. You're not aware of the things that actually matter. And so this is how we've changed the PFT curriculum. We've actually gone in and said, what's important to firefighters? What are the things that we can do today to actually impact those things that are important? And like I said, 7 things, massive difference. Every single person here, knee in line, with your foot in your hip, whether you're running, whether you're climbing stairs, whether you're getting out of the truck, whether you're at the gym. If you have pain in your knee, look down and see where your knee is. There's going to be somebody in here that is not in line. It's kind of coming in a little bit. Changing that, just becoming aware of that, could change your life today, just like that happened. Okay, these are things that we can do to inform our members to change their life. So we often hear, lift with your legs and not with your back. I show this picture to people. And automatically they say, oh yeah, this guy here, way less safe. And he's bending over. He's not bending his knees. He's lifting with his back. When we understand how injuries actually happen, that's not the case at all. This guy is way less safe than this guy. Because from an injury standpoint, if we're looking at your back, the curvature of your back is way more important than the angle of your trunk. This guy's back here is straight. This guy's back is not. So I don't care where your trunk is, as long as you're keeping your back straight. But this isn't what we're told. Okay? We assume that having your trunk upright and lifting like this with a big pull up your butt is the way that we prevent injuries. It's not. Okay, we need to teach people what it feels like to keep your back straight, regardless of where your trunk is. This is the information we need to be sharing with our firefighters. Okay, so some of the cues that we use, and are still being used across the board, are not effective. They're not actually addressing the things that we know, from a research standpoint, are actually causing the injuries that firefighters are sustaining. This is one of them. So the whole lift with your legs and not with your back thing, and trying to keep your trunk upright, doesn't work. It's not effective. Okay? We need to think about spine curvature, not trunk posture. This is just some data to actually support that. So this is from a pamphlet. I think this is being used with paramedics. But they were saying, line up your stars. Maybe you guys have seen something like this. So feet, hips, shoulders, head, keep it on a straight line. Garbage. Truthfully. And from an injury standpoint, completely ineffective. Because not only is this guy still rounding his back, but his heels are off the ground. So he's ruining his back and he's ruining his knees. Okay? So this is just from some data that we have. So we actually told people to lift with your legs and not with your back. That's the red line. This is how much they're actually rounding their back. More rounding going up that way. This cue here, we just said, hey, keep your back straight. And so that was a more effective cue than lift with your legs and not with your back. So there are some little things that we can be doing that are actually going to have a bigger impact on how injuries happen in our departments. Okay, so the whole lift with your legs and not with your back thing doesn't work. And if you have any more questions about that afterwards, you can come and see me. Okay, just an example. So you guys may have seen this before. There's a tape here for class. I've seen this. I still cringe when I see it. But we have some firefighters that are trying to get more fit by lifting heavy loads like this with their back looking like a turtle. So the load isn't necessarily the problem. The problem is this guy's back is completely rounded. So if his back was straight, then he wouldn't be so bad. Okay, so again, looking at what actually causes the injuries, informing our firefighters of how injuries actually happen is what it's going to take to make a big difference. So I just like to tell this story here. So this guy, he currently holds a half marathon world record. Anybody know what his time is? Hour 58 minutes, 23 seconds. It's just imagine, so that's pretty fast. Just put it into context. Anybody ever run a 5K? What's a good time for a 5K? 15 minutes? Yeah. 15 minutes is crazy. You run 15 minutes?
That's just chasing.
That's really fast. 15 minutes is really fast. 18 is still pretty fast. This guy ran in 13 minutes, continuously. Anybody ever run 400 meters? 66 seconds. This guy was running continuous 66 seconds for 400 meters for an hour. Like, that's a sprint. If I was lucky, maybe once could I keep up with him around a track for 400 meters? But the point is, there's no way this guy could run this fast, so performance is dictated by how we move. So if he was running like that firefighter, and every single step he took, his knee was falling in, there's no way he runs that fast. So for our firefighters that are solely focused on performance, they want to lift more, they want to be faster, they want to work for longer periods of time, the same stuff matters. Okay, so whether it's injury or performance or quality of life, some of these simple little movement patterns that we're emphasizing are important across the board. And this is how we can get buy-in from everybody. So we can tell somebody, yeah, this is going to help you lift more, this is going to help you run faster. It's like, okay, I can listen, I can buy into it. So something we've done, so it's knees, back, shoulders. So one of the things that we've done for back, so this is either both a teaching tool but also an awareness for a bunch of other people. So this is a workshop we were doing with Toronto Fire. Had a group of firefighters come in and we put 2 pieces of tape on their back. One through the hips, one through the shoulders. And so I told you guys for the knee, it's knee, hip, foot, all in line. For the back, the biggest advice I could give you, those 2 lines, don't let them get farther apart. That's what we're doing with these firefighters. Okay, so 2 lines on the back, as they were lifting, overhead, going down to get the hose. Everybody else was around them walking to see what those 2 lines do. And so you guys can see, as the guy bends down, those 2 lines get farther apart. That's going to increase risk. And so first step is making everybody aware what we're actually looking at. The 2 lines can be great to highlight what we're looking for. And then the next step would be, let's actually try and change your habits or your behaviors so when you bend down to lift, those 2 lines aren't getting farther apart. Okay, but just as a first step, from an awareness standpoint for everybody else involved, it really highlighted to them what we should be looking for. So these 2 lines on the back can be a great tool for you guys to share in your department. And this has nothing to do with exercise. Okay, this could be anything. This could be bending down to pick up your kids. So, we got our 7 key features, so my point here is we can use lots of different mediums to share this information. We can use posters, we can use social media, we can use videos, we can use podcasts. This is the stuff that the IAFF is doing to support you guys. So we're looking at lots of different ways to create resources, distribute resources, so you can share with every single member in your department. This is how we become sustainable over time. Okay? It isn't just about one vehicle. Lots of people are going to get engaged for different reasons. So we can do a lot of different things here. And I'm happy to share this. The IAFF is happy to share whatever they have, and we'll continue to develop to support you guys in informing your membership. So something we're doing, posting little short videos of workouts that can be done that are based on everything that's in the PFT course, that are based on research, that firefighters can do with or without equipment. Okay, so this is just something emphasizing those things we talked about, the back and the knees. All different types of patterns, so lifting, squatting, pushing, pulling, all in here. So we can package these little videos for you guys. So this is something you can do in your station with or without equipment. We have videos that have no equipment, we have videos with equipment, but they're all based on the curriculum that we have, emphasizing key features, touching on the patterns that are relevant to firefighters. Okay? Lots of stuff for you guys. We often get asked, how many PFTs do I need? What should this look like in my department? So, some simple thoughts here. So we have to build a network. There's no one person that can do all this on their own. So we have to establish a bit of a wellness team. This wellness team is going to be responsible for establishing a bit of a vision. What are we actually trying to do within our department? Below that, peer fitness trainers are going to be a critical piece. These are the individuals with the knowledge and skills to actually design and implement, get some buy-in. Okay? But they also can't do it alone. In terms of number of PFTs, just a simple estimation you guys can use. Number of shifts by number of battalions. So if you think about what this looks like in your department, that's a basic or a general estimate of how many PFTs you guys would need. But below that, we have these frontline influencers, is what I'm calling them. Okay, so these are the people that may not have the same level of education or the same skills as our PFTs, but they can make a difference within their crew, at their station. They're just an advocate or an ambassador for health and wellness. They're going to help change the culture. Okay, so these individuals could be the liaison between the peer fitness trainer and the general membership. They're there to get everybody excited and engaged. So the number of ambassadors, think about having number of shifts by number of stations. And we can provide resources for both PFTs and these ambassadors. So we can go pass stuff to the PFT so they can actually work with the ambassadors to empower the PFTs a little bit. Okay? Again, just some general thoughts about how you can actually build a network within your own department. Okay, next piece. So we've got some buy-in. We've actually informed. We're sharing this information. We're spreading it across the general membership. Next piece is we have to actually empower everyone. We have to empower the PFTs. We have to empower the firefighters. This is where we actually see changes in behavior. Okay, this is where we change the habits. This is where we actually start making a difference in firefighters' lives. So, from an exercise standpoint, this is from some of you guys may have seen this, but this is from some work that I did a few years ago when I was living with the Pensacola Fire Department. We wanted to know, are there certain types of exercise that can actually change the way a firefighter performs outside of the exercise environment? So you guys think about this. At the end of the day, I don't care about making people better at exercise. I really don't. Okay? It's a vehicle. It's a tool for me. I want to make your life better. I want to change the way you perform in the fire ground. I want to change the way you perform at home. I want to increase your performance. I want to prevent injuries outside of the gym or outside of the exercise world. So what we wanted to know is, can we actually do that? And what types of exercise are going to be responsible for doing that? So we had the Pensacola Fire Department, before we did these exercise interventions, we had them come into our lab and hook them up like we do with video games and have them perform a bunch of different tasks. Some are firefighter related, some are tasks of daily living. But we wanted to get a sense of, how do you guys move? How do you load your tissues when doing this stuff? Because what I want to know is, can I use exercise to actually change this? Can I change your habits, the way you move when performing this stuff, without ever once teaching you how to perform this stuff? Okay, so just imagine. So this is me. So I'm going to bring you in. We're going to exercise for 12 weeks. Before we exercise, we're going to do some firefighting drills. I'm going to have you do some stuff you do at home. I'm never going to touch that. I'm not going to talk to you about that at all. I'm just going to come in and teach you how to exercise. Then I'm going to test that same stuff at the end that I've never touched. Did your habits change? Okay, are you guys crossing your arms a different way now without actually telling you that? That was our question. Okay? And good news is, there are certain types of exercise that can do this. But the type of exercise that we use really matters. So really what we're trying to do, so in the training environment, or an exercise environment, we're going to focus on some key things. So again, we're going to go back to those 7 key things. If I ingrain or emphasize these in a training environment, it doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter whether you're performing job skills, or squatting, or lunging, or pushing, or pulling. It doesn't matter. If I emphasize these things and continue emphasizing these things, my idea is they're going to emerge in the stuff that's really important. Okay? And again, we have some evidence now to support that. So if we emphasize that in a training environment, it's going to come up over here. But we also have evidence to say, if you don't do that, and you let stuff go in this environment, it's also going to show up over here. And that could be why a lot of our firefighters are getting hurt. And the unfortunate thing is, a lot of our firefighters are getting hurt while they're exercising. That should never, ever happen. Ever. Okay? So this video here, some of you guys may have seen this, who've taken the PFT course as well. Anybody know Brandon Roy? Former basketball player? Anybody know why Brandon Roy retired from the NBA? What injuries? Knee injuries. This is Brandon Roy when he's in the NBA, walking up and down the court with his master trainer. If you guys remember back to that one thing I said that I'm going to share with every single person in here about your knees. Protect your knees. Keep them in line with your hip and your foot. Is Brandon Roy keeping his knees in line with his hip and his foot, or his feet, when he's walking up and down the floor?
No, he's turning his knee in.
He's turning his knee in, exactly. Brandon Roy, professional basketball player, retired. He's got knee injuries at this time. He retired because of knee problems. So my point is that even at this level, there are people, there are coaches that are not aware of the actual things that matter. Okay? If we use the same approach and just let this stuff go in a training environment for our firefighters, we shouldn't expect anything different over here. But if we go back and ingrain these things, and the trainer comes around and says, hey, Brandon, keep your knee in line with your foot and your hip. He said, oh, thanks, I didn't know about it. Maybe he's still playing. Well, maybe not that one's still playing. Maybe his career was extended. So this is what we can do with our firefighters. This is what our PFTs are being educated about. They're being equipped with skills and knowledge to actually make a difference, to change these habits, these behaviors of our firefighters. And this is the stuff that actually matters. This is based on evidence. Okay, like I said, we have evidence now to say there are certain types of exercise that can actually do something like this. So, another concept that we're introducing. So this isn't necessarily the PFT course. This is coming after. This is in we have a 2-day assessment CE that's available now to you guys. This whole idea of movement hygiene. So when you guys think hygiene, what do you think? Clean. Everybody brush their teeth every day at least once? Maybe twice? Okay. There's no reason why we can't do the same thing for movement. So we've developed this habit. We wake up in the morning, we brush our teeth. We go to bed, we brush our teeth before we go to bed. Why are we not taking care of ourselves from a movement standpoint in the same way? We know quality of life is so influenced by how we move. We can practice some of these simple things 5 minutes a day. That's it. 3 minutes. 3 minutes a day, we can make a massive difference. Emphasize some of the things that we know are important, will change our life, will help us prevent injuries, will improve our performance. There's evidence right now, lots of stuff coming out, that 3 minutes of high-intensity exercise or physical activity can actually improve your health, your fitness to the same extent as an hour of exercise. 3 minutes! So we can integrate some of this stuff. Think about movement hygiene. Morning, afternoon, change our life today. We can emphasize mobility. We might do a little demo in a sec. But the big things for firefighters based on the knees, back, shoulders are ankles, hips, and shoulders. Giving our firefighters a couple of simple things they can do in the privacy of their own home before or after they brush their teeth. Over time, this is going to change things. We can do the same thing about making them aware. We can do the same thing from a fitness standpoint. Fitness doesn't have to be an hour. It doesn't have to be half an hour. So, do you guys want to share a couple of things for yeah? So again, come on, Carrie. This is just a couple of examples of what we can do in 5 minutes, no equipment, to target some of the things that are relevant to firefighters.
So on Monday we did a class and we introduced some of this mobility stuff, and I sometimes feel like a poster child for the hip, the knee, back, shoulder injury, because I've had all of those. Partially torn rotator cuff right now, and we started implementing some of the new fitness protocol for the WFI in Austin this year. And I have an extreme deficit on my right shoulder compared to left just because of the torn rotator cuff. And one of the stretches that we implemented on Monday was new to me, and this right here, couldn't do that with my right arm on Monday. So just that one stretch implemented and doing it for maybe 5 minutes made a big difference for me, and I can tell already that just implementing this a little bit I do brush my teeth more than I implement this mobility stuff, but if you actually, if we took the time to really ingrain these things and to really do them every day, it can make a big difference and not require a lot of time.
It's not a lot of time, not a lot of equipment, doesn't have to be fancy. The point is that we can go in and address both the needs and the wants of our firefighters with some very simple stuff that they can integrate at home or while at the station. And this can start to build some of that momentum that we need to really change their behaviors. And so, just got another short little video here, but some of you guys may have tried this the other day, again, the Tuesday morning session. This was a session this is on videos online for you guys to check out too. We're posting these 5-minute videos every Friday, so you guys can check them out, that touch on this whole movement and hygiene idea. 5 minutes of this absolutely blasted me. So in addition to mobility, making somebody aware, we can target fitness in 5 minutes. Okay, so this isn't just the mobility stuff. There's lots of stuff that we can do in a very short period of time with no equipment whatsoever to make our firefighters more fit. So this runs the gamut.
Why is it always with men? Why is it always with you and men and alone?
Like I said,
Luke.
something like this is incredibly challenging. And so there is evidence to support 3 minutes of high intensity activity actually improving fitness, actually improving health benefits. All the blood measures that we take, 3 minutes of activity can change that stuff. Okay, so this is some of the data that I was saying that we have from Pensacola. So just a couple of examples here, some lifting and squatting tasks. So these guys came in, we separated the department up into 3 groups. We had a control group that they tested, continued doing their own stuff, and then tested again. We had a second group that came in and they performed like a fitness intervention. So our only objective was to make them as fit as possible. So aerobic capacity, and strength, and endurance, and flexibility, and all these things. We want to make you as fit as possible. But we weren't necessarily emphasizing these 7 things and how you're moving. So this is some of your typical high intensity programs that are out there. And I'm happy to share the programs that we used for these interventions. The third group, we still wanted to make the firefighters as fit as possible because we know fitness is really important, but we also know that movement is important. So we emphasize these 7 things in every single thing they're doing. Okay, so they came in, tested, trained for 12 weeks, emphasized fitness, emphasized movement, and test you again. This is the results from after training. So the yellow bars are the control group, the red bars are the fitness only group, and the blue bars are the fitness and movement group. Going up means that after the 12 weeks of training, those 7 things, we had less bad movement. So these guys were moving better, lower risk, after the 12 weeks of training. So everybody got super fit. So both training groups got super fit. No differences there. But afterwards, the people that were fitness only, they went down. So the knee alignment thing, the 2 lines on the back getting farther apart, they were worse after 12 weeks of training. They got super fit, but they moved poor after training, or worse than they did before and after training. This may be one of the reasons why so many firefighters are getting herbal exercise. Yes, we're making them fit, but we can actually be increasing risk because we haven't placed an emphasis on some of the movement patterns that actually matter. And again, these are tasks that they didn't actually practice while training over those 12 weeks. So these are actually changing habits, changing behaviors for some of the things that actually matter to these firefighters. That's what we should be doing. Okay? And again, just by emphasizing some simple things, we can make a massive difference. We don't have to sacrifice fitness to do this. We can still make our firefighters super fit if that's based on a need and based on the wants that they have. But we shouldn't be sacrificing their movement patterns and how they're performing these things to get fit. And again, I'm happy to share some of this work with you guys as well. Oh. So the last thing I think, so we've got some buy-in. We shared the things that are important. We're changing behaviors. Keeping this sustainable in the long term, I really think that we have to continue to challenge our firefighters or our peers, both across the station, within a department, or just within themselves. One of the things that we can do, and this is, again, also supported by a lot of research that's coming out, but the sense of community, and you guys you can attest to this probably more than anybody, the sense of community amongst a fire department, and even here, is unmatched. And so we should be leveraging the power of community to change the culture within every single department. And there are a bunch of different things that can be done to help with that. I think this might just be Canada at the moment. Anybody heard of the app called Carrot? No? Okay, so this was a really cool idea. So this was established in collaboration with a few different universities across the country, Ministry of Health, a couple big organizing bodies in Canada to promote physical activity amongst the general population. So what they've done, in addition to tie this physical activity piece to engagement, sustainability over the long time, is partnered with various rewards programs, whether it be for flights or groceries or gas, things like this. So what they've done is said, if you can complete this many minutes of physical activity or this many steps or whatever it may be, we're going to give you rewards towards your groceries. And so now people are incentivized to actually participate. And we can do the same things within our departments. Okay, so we're working on some things right now with these various challenges that we can use within a station, across departments, to get firefighters engaged. But we're looking for partnerships as well to incentivize the participation. And it doesn't have to be monetary. It doesn't necessarily have to be these rewards, but looking at ways to actually engage our firefighters, to challenge them in different ways to keep this sustainable in the long term. And things that we can include in this, it can be fitness or physical activity, but it doesn't have to be. It can be things like being mindful or nutrition. So we can include the dietary stuff into this. We can look at just various leadership pieces. So there are lots of things that we can do as challenges, incentivizing these challenges to keep programs sustainable in the long term. And so this is also some stuff that the IAFF is working on to support you guys in what you do. Okay, that's it for me. So you guys can check out, we have a website that supplements, complements what the IAFF is doing. Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. So check us out. Like I said, we're going to be posting videos, resources to support what you guys are doing. And you can contact us, let us know what else you need, and we'll make sure it's up there, easily accessed for anybody that needs it. Our idea is really to create this community for you guys to help you make your program sustainable in the long term. Because again, I don't want it to just be, let's get excited about this, and then have it fizzle out, and you guys are on your own. We're here working with you. You know, the IAFF is here working with you, hand in hand, the entire time. So we want you to launch your program and not have it fizzle out, to make it sustainable in the long term. Questions? Yes, sir.
So say you do perform in that movement poorly, like Brandon Roy.
Yep.
He lunged poorly, so he has weak knees.
Maybe not, maybe not.
Well, based on his knee injuries and over time.
Yeah, so I won't get into that too much, but we have to be careful about making assumptions about weak and things like that. So we don't necessarily know exactly what's going on. All we know is that his knee's not in line with his hip as well.
Right, so for the sake of the example, someone has weak knees or they're near injury.
Yep.
When they start performing correctly, is that just going to protect? How long will it take for their knees to actually tighten back up? You know, will it be every time they are correct in the movement, they'll be okay, but then that one time,
Okay,
it
so
still comes to?
okay, so good question, and correct me if I don't answer your question. So the length of time can be dependent on who the person is. So like I said with that happening, it took 5 seconds. All it was keep your knee in line with your foot and your hip. And just that reminder, like he'd been dealing with pain so long, it fixed himself. So whatever he was doing, if he got that trigger of pain, look down, the knee's there, I'm going to change it. And eventually, that becomes an unconscious thing. And you don't have to worry about it anymore. It just becomes apparent everywhere. If it is a strength thing, obviously you have to get stronger to support your knee being in that position. So it's a good point that some people, like if you're lifting a heavy load and you're not strong enough, every single time you bend over, your back is going to round because your back isn't strong enough to actually maintain that good position. This is why fitness is so important for our firefighters. We can't just say, everybody move well. Well, I don't have the strength, I don't have the endurance to move well. I need to build it. And so some of that takes time to happen. The other thing that we need to be thinking about, going back to the cumulative idea of injuries, injuries take time to occur. There are going to be times when you guys are on the job is unpredictable, it's chaotic, you're going to be forced into a position that looks bad. So your back's going to be rounded, your knee's going to be in a weird position, you're going to be twisted. We don't want those positions to be the instant that breaks you. So we have to do everything that we can, so when you don't have to put yourself in those positions, you're not in those positions. So in a training environment, let's not put you in those positions. Let's keep that blue line super high, so that when you are in that position and it starts to drop down, it's not to the point where the black line is hitting you. Okay, so we don't want to, we got to build up that margin of safety, the difference between those two lines in a training and an exercise environment. So I would never say, I'm not naive enough to say, every single job task you guys have to keep this here, keep that there. It's not realistic. Just, I like to use the example, I would never tell a cyclist, when you're on your bike, keep your back straight. That's stupid. They'd laugh at me. I would have no credibility whatsoever. I have to understand the demands of their activity. I have to understand the demands of the jobs you guys have. But what I don't want to have happen is that cyclist, because they're on their bike and they're rounded all day, every day, I don't want that to create a habit that they also use when they're lifting. So if they're a firefighter and they're lifting up a patient or lifting up a piece of equipment, I don't want their habits from the bike to transfer to those tasks. Because that's going to be accumulation, and eventually something's going to break. Yes, sir.
On the statistics of the number of injuries during exercise, can you break it down as how many of those injuries were during CrossFit training? Because ever since we introduced CrossFit in our department,
Yeah.
the number of injuries have tripled. And it's getting more of an issue now for us
Yep.
with CrossFit.
Yeah.
Guys are just overexerting themselves
Right.
to the point where they're blowing out their knees, shoulder, back.
Okay, good question. So I get this one all the time too. So I don't think CrossFit is bad. I think that a lot of coaches in CrossFit gyms are bad. Okay, but CrossFit itself, I think, is great. If we look at the really fundamental principles of what CrossFit is, it's community, it's variability. So from a learning standpoint, change of behaviors, variability is awesome. High intensity, which can be great, but it has to be relative. Okay, high intensity for me is not going to be the same as Luke or Carrie. And complex whole body movements, which is very relevant to every single thing that we do. So we take those 4 pillars and look at CrossFit through that lens. I think it's awesome. The problem lies in trying to do things that are outside of our ability, or pushing ourselves beyond the point that we should. And so I think that we can take the benefits and the advantages of that type of activity, but tailor it to the people that we're actually working with, and highlight, honestly, if we take CrossFit and just say, we're going to integrate these 7 things, and these become our standards. So if you want to lift heavier, if you want to perform longer, you have to demonstrate that you can do it while maintaining this. And so going back to this circle here, so this is, I hope to have this available to you guys very shortly, but the idea is these are a series of challenges, which are essentially workouts that you guys can do with your crews at your stations. But in order to unlock the next sequence of challenges, you have to demonstrate that you've achieved the fitness piece while maintaining these 7 things. So that becomes the standard. We can change the culture and the mindset around this type of exercise. Then it can actually provide a ton of benefit. But I do completely agree with you that there has been this emergence of exercise-related injuries because a lot of firefighters, and it's not just firefighters, this is across the board, a lot of people putting themselves in positions that they're just not ready for, or trying to do things that they're just not ready to handle. Yes, sir.
Can I add one part to that?
Sure.
So CrossFit, I mean, any training, this is just an opinion, but any training, regardless of the model of training, if the goal is time, or you're so focused on getting rounds and reps, or we joke about it all the time with soccer, if we just go for a run, if we put a soccer ball down, it becomes to the death with firefighters. If it becomes so focused on the outcome and not the mechanism of how you're doing it, and that regardless of the training model, that's what you're essentially saying. We have to adhere to the technique, and then at some point it's going to break down if we're going to fatigue. That's when we need to stop or adjust it. The problem is a lot of people ignore that, continue to do bad movement, and that becomes every day, and now it becomes a good movement.
This is the whole redefining performance thing. Performance is not just how high you jump and how fast you run. It's also how you jump and how you run. And so these need to become our new standards in addition to the fitness piece. Yes, sir.
I'd like to add something onto that from Firefighter and health and safety officer. So that is our data, and more importantly on that is what is significant is the competitive sports. That is, and that, I've been wondering about that. So in the context of the movement, and adding on what Ian is saying, when you add that competitive element, then rational people end up compromising their proper movements. So it's competitive sports problem, which is not new. Was it Dallas that somebody can tell me up in the room here that actually they played a lot of basketball? Was it part of the culture? The stations would play each other. And eventually, they had some injuries that they had in basketball, and that's completely not what you want. Right?
Yeah. So the one thing I will say though is competition is not bad. Okay, just like CrossFit is not bad. I just think it takes changing the mindset about what the objective is. Because, I've seen this, when you start to, you can have this competition, but if the carrot that I have to achieve, so it's something like this. If I say you're not able to progress with everybody else, and you can show me that you can lift this much with your back straight. We use this with our varsity athletes at the University of Toronto all the time. Okay? Incredibly competitive environments. What we're saying is this is the standard. You want to progress with your peers and you want to challenge your peers, great. Lift this load, but you got to maintain this stuff. We can do the same thing within the fire service. Okay, so a competition can be a great way to engage people and push people. We just have to be clear on what those standards are. And you know, yeah, George?
Well, it's no different than nobody having an exercise program on duty, and now incorporating one, now we have injuries go up. And so they'll go, you know what, if we didn't have an exercise program, we wouldn't have these injuries, and here we go. So it goes back to the how, or what they're doing. So it doesn't have to be CrossFit, it could be anything.
Yeah.
Just putting an exercise program together.
And because again, we need our firefighters to be fit. The job is demanding. And so we can't settle for low-level, you know, Gumby-like firefighters. Like, yeah, you might be able to move well when there's no load on you, or you're not moving for long periods of time. But you're going to fall apart when you actually have to do your job. And so we need to increase fitness in a lot of our firefighters. And challenge and competition can help that. But we just have to make sure that our PFTs are equipped with some of these 7 things. That's why our PFTs are going to be so important. And our ambassadors underneath that are going to be so important to help enforce some of these so-called standards. And so the culture is, yeah, we got to perform really well, but we got to be safe. At the end of the day, our firefighters have said preventing injuries is the most important. They're saying. And so if that is the truth, and we have a lot of firefighters who've gotten hurt, and it's impacted their quality of life at home. You know, they're on light duty. They don't want to be on light duty. It's like, okay, we have to change the culture. We have to change the standards. So when we're doing this, we're going to push. But we're not going to push to the point where we're actually breaking ourselves. Yep.
Are those posters available for purchase, the 7 movements?
Yep.
Where
Yep.
at?
You can contact Jason Atkin if you want at the IAFF, and he'll hook you up.
All right.
Yep. So we got lots of posters available for you guys, if that's what you're looking for. Other questions? You guys have any comments? Other questions? Nothing? Yes.
A couple of your slides, you had some static stretching. Is the move still moving to dynamic stretching, or is that still the argument between the two? Because for firefighting, we can't, we got to call, do some stretches before we go.
Yep.
We don't have that time, right? So,
Yep.
are we still moving towards the dynamic stretching, or is it still the argument?
Hey, good question. So there's two thoughts there. So dynamic versus static stretching, which is better? They're both great. Okay, honestly, depends on what we're trying to do. If we have a firefighter who lacks mobility, use them both. Okay, the reason why we stretch is to change, you know, I don't want to get too technical, but we're trying to change the compliance of our tissues, or make our tissues more pliable. So we can actually put ourselves in different positions. So now I can squat lower, now I can reach farther behind me, like carry, now I can reach up my back a little bit more. So I'm more safe, I'm at less risk. That's why we stretch. If a static stretch is going to allow us to get into that position, awesome. If a dynamic stretch is going to allow us to do that, great. But if we're trying to use some type of stretching and integrating into a workout, maybe we do dynamic as well, because it provides the heart rate and the blood flow and the body temperature and all that stuff as well. So it depends on why you're using it. Both can be fantastic. The other thing I would say is this touches on the movement hygiene idea. And so I often get asked, or it's the same comment, so we don't have a whole lot of time to prepare ourselves for a call. You know, when the alarm goes, we're going. And so I can't warm up. This highlights why we need to make sure that we're prepared before that happens. And so if at a moment's notice, I need to get down and squat all the way down to the floor, I can do that. And so if we're creating these habits by doing 3 to 5 minutes in the morning, or 3 to 5 minutes before we go to bed, eventually, these new patterns that we have, this new mobility that we have, that's the norm. You know, so for me, I don't do a whole lot of stretching. But I do 3 to 5 minutes a day, whether it's in the morning or before my workout or whatever it is. And if I had to, I can squat all the way down to the floor, because I'm maintaining those positions just by doing a little on a regular basis. Our firefighters can do the same thing. So you don't have to warm up doing some type of dynamic or static stretch before you get a call. Your body is prepared for it before you get the call. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yep, thank you.
movement screens, and
Yep.
specifically the FMS.
Yeah, yeah, the FMS, functional movement screen. Just anything about the functional movement screen? Just know my
Well,
thoughts?
yeah, one of my PFTs attended the class. and,
Yep.
you know, We adopted it several years ago heavily after looking at the NFL, NHL,
Yep.
about 100 college programs,
Yep.
saying, well, you know, there's a whole lot of evidence based
Yep.
on all these big professional sports.
Yep.
That's adopted.
Okay, so the functional movement screen. How many people are familiar with the functional movement screen? It's right here. So for those of you who aren't, the functional movement screen is it's a 7-task tool that's being used, was launched like back in 2000 or so, being used by a lot of groups to try and everything from identify pain to predict injury to make recommendations for training. And 7 tasks are low level, so it's like a bodyweight squat, bodyweight lunge, a push-up, things like this. And so I often get the question, you know, is it good? Should we do it? You know, I see all this data out there. Professional teams are using it. So the other day in the workshop, and even in the roundtable we had, just mentioned. So I've probably done more research on the FMS than anybody in the world. And so back in 2002, I adopted it in my own practice. I was doing it with everybody. I thought it was fascinating. But I also wanted to know what's the science behind it. Is there evidence to support its use? And so in 2007, started doing research on it. And I've been continuing to do research since to see, is this a valid tool for these various purposes? And it's not. Like, unfortunately, it's not. I wish it was, it's just not. And so, yes, there has been some evidence to say it can predict injury. But there's also been 3 times as many studies to say it can't. There's absolutely zero research to say it's a valid measure to assess mobility or control or movement. There's zero evidence to support that. We've done some work to say, you know, with our Pensacola study, the FMS was part of it. And we wanted to know, one, you know, can it actually detect changes in these movement behaviors that we're seeing? And it can't. Unfortunately, it can't. I mentioned the other day, so we did a study also where we had firefighters come in, and we did the FMS with them, and then we told them exactly what we're looking for. So this is what it takes to get a perfect score on the FMS. Said nothing else. We didn't say, this is what you need to do, like specific to you. We just said, these are the grading criteria. You know, so when you're doing the squat, the dowel's got to be here. When you're doing the lunge, this is where your body has to be. That's all we told them. And then we tested them again, 5 minutes later. Their scores went up by 3 points. So which on the FMS is 1/7 of the total score. So beforehand, all these firefighters, they would have said to have all this dysfunction, and you know, we're going to give you a bunch of corrective exercises to address all this dysfunction you have because your scores are so low. We changed that in 5 minutes just by telling them what we're looking for. Like there's been work, and I mentioned this the other day as well, that training studies, 7-week training studies, there's been a 12-week training study. Their only purpose is to change an FMS score. And just remember, the FMS has not been validated as a valid tool for anything. So if I change my FMS score, who cares? So after 7 weeks of FMS-specific training, scores went up by 3. I did it in 5 minutes. So again, where did the dysfunction go? Like, what am I actually trying to do? So again, what we did with our big training study, 12 weeks. I wanted to test you. I wanted the tasks, the assessments that we use to actually assess your habits and your behaviors and what is really relevant. So we actually used job tasks, activities of daily living, looked at the same metrics that we, like the back and the knees, things we know are important. Those things change. The FMS score did not. And so I'm not going to put all my weight in a tool like the FMS that has not been validated for predicting injury, looking at mobility, looking at control, or even assessing how somebody moves. It hasn't been validated for those purposes. If we use it as a tool to identify pain, great, it can do that. But to make recommendations and make assumptions about what a firefighter needs based on an FMS score is not the way to go. Unfortunately, I wish it was. Like I said, I wish it was. I wish it was that simple. It's not. And so there's a ton of people that have invested a lot of money, and a lot of time into doing the FMS. And I work with the various organizations that have integrated it into their program. Unfortunately, it doesn't work. But that's what the evidence says. And again, just intuitively, Think about this for a second. So you're a fire, everybody here's a firefighter. Would you perform, if you had to bend over and pick up your keys off the ground, would you perform the same way if I challenged you to lift 200 pounds off the ground? Or would you approach those two tasks differently? You'd probably approach the task differently. So, the FMS is a low-level screen. There are no demands, there's no load, there's no speed, there's no time, there's no anything. And so if we're assessing you in this low-demand environment, like picking up the keys, you guys watch me do this, and you're like, oh, your hamstrings are tight, back's bad, you have no awareness, you have no control. These are the assumptions you made. So then you give me all these corrective exercises, like you need to stretch your hamstrings, blah, 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 and this and that. I don't need any of it. My perception of risk with this task was there is no risk. Had you asked me to lift up to 200 pounds, well, I'm going to approach it differently. You know, I'm going to spread my legs and keep my back straight. I'm going to get down and get the load. Well, we're all this dysfunction all went away. Okay, so we really have to think about this. And movement is context dependent. And so the assessments that we're using with the PFT program and the resources we're continuing to create for you guys so you can assess the needs of your firefighters, we have to assess movement across a spectrum of demands to really get a sense of what these behaviors look like. What are the needs? Because I can have every single person, and those of you who were at the pre-con the other day, we all did an overhead squat. And so I can do an overhead squat, so hands above my head, squat down as low as I can. Can't get any lower. We can make an assumption that you lack mobility in your hips. And so I got to stretch your hamstrings to get you lower. Maybe that has nothing to do with it. And so if I have you start stretching or doing some crazy exercise for your hip, and you don't need it, I'm wasting your time. I might not actually be addressing what you actually need. And so that's the issue. So using something like the functional movement screen could be wasting our time and putting us down a bad path. It may not be giving us the answers that we're actually looking for. And like I said, unfortunately, the evidence doesn't support its use.
Dave, can I add? So one other piece that happened with our department in Calgary, Dr. McGill at Waterloo studied the FMS for injury prediction. And so it was a 60-point grading system, not just a 0 to 3. They filmed all our personnel, 1,200 personnel. We all went through it, sent all the videotape to him, and then they graded it. And they followed our injuries both at work and at home, just any injuries over the next 2 years, and found that none of it correlated to injury. It couldn't predict injury. So,
well, it's just like, you know, when you do research, I could do research on this group here, and we could relate the number of injuries to orange juice interest for people that like orange juice. Like, there's lots of things that we can do, because just because you have an association doesn't mean anything about cause. And so that's what we have to be very careful with. So those studies that have shown an association between an FMS score, like a composite FMS score, so those of you who know the FMS, it's your score at 21, which means absolutely nothing. There could be 1,000 different reasons why somebody gets a 14. That's the truth. So just because we see an association between this FMS score and injuries doesn't mean there's any type of cause or relation between them. It just says there was an association.